Okay, so video number 2 for the 2025 assessment season. This one is about appealing your classification. So what I'm doing here today is not advising you to appeal your classification. I'm just going to show you the steps on how to do that initial entry of the appeal online. The idea being that, among other things, we have a number of people who operate short-term rentals like Airbnbs that this year, for the first time ever, were classified as commercial properties, whereas in the past they've been classified as residential. And this is causing their tax bills to go up, in some cases 200, 300%. And it is one of the options for you to dispute that via the appeal process. The other thing that I'm doing is I do have a piece of legislation that's directing the assessor not to do that until we have a better handle on under what circumstances it's appropriate. So this is an assessment notice. And in this example, you can see that the value is in the residential column. And that means that you pay your taxes off of 19% of the value, the estimated value in that right-hand column. But if you were reclassified as commercial, you would be paying your estimated value, and 32% of that would be the number that your taxes would be calculated on. And all the protections that residences have under the Missouri state statutes go away. Even the burden of proof. In a residential appeal, the burden of proof is on the assessor. And it appears from my reading that in a commercial assessment, the appeal burden of proof is on the taxpayer. So it's really important that if you've been reclassified and you have a home that you think should be residential, that you file an appeal, because I don't know what the outcome of my legislation will be. So this is, again, the online process. Now, I've started here after I've already logged onto the system. I might produce another video that would be generic for all types of appeals for anybody who hasn't ever filed an appeal before to show you how you log on. When you do that, you have to set up an account. And there's a couple other steps, but hopefully most of you can work your way through that. And if you have problems, as always, just give me a call. So this year, there's this area that I've circled in red that says property dispute filing on the first page. And you would click the blue part that says property dispute filing. That would take you to the next page. And it's this property dispute form. And I've included this. I mean, there's only one button. You're going to press begin filing. But I'm concerned, and I want to show this to my legislative colleagues, that the note that's added here in red almost seems a little bit threatening. It's like whoever configured this is trying to dissuade people from filing an appeal. I want you to feel secure that you can file an appeal safely. So I might try to have this information removed because it seems to be the opposite of what we really should be trying to say to taxpayers, that filing an appeal is usually a safe thing. So after you click begin, you'll get a screen. And in this case, I've gone ahead and entered, and you can see it. It's a little dimmed out because it's in the background. I entered my parcel ID exactly as it is on my assessment notice, and that includes these dashes. And you can see that when I enter it that way with the dashes, it says there's no parcel called that, that it can't find that property. I only left this page in there because I know that some people will cut and paste or type it exactly like it is on their appeal notice or on their assessment notice, and they'll need to, as you'll see on the next page, remove those dashes. So same number. Most of the time the county communicates with you, they include dashes. When you go to file an appeal, if you don't know to remove the dashes, then if you don't notice that little thing that says no dashes or spaces, then you might have a problem. But so now I've gone ahead and entered it without the dashes, and I clicked on the search button. I didn't circle it in red. And then you can see now it found my parcel, which is listed under SCS Realties LLC. And in blue, it says start filing. So you'll click on start filing. This is a screen that just shows information about where the mailing address is and confirms the parcel ID. So really, you'll just click next. And then we get to the meat and potatoes of the two-step appeal process. And there's more steps than that, by the way. all I'm trying to do is show you how to get your appeal started, get it into the system before the deadline of July 14th. When you first come to this page, the two top circles you see here, opinion of value and phone, will have an asterisk next to them. That's because they're mandatory. So I've gone ahead and entered my real phone number and my opinion of what the value of this particular home is. If you were filing a commercial appeal, you'd still be following all these same steps essentially. And then once I've entered those, it changes from a little red asterisk to a check mark. And then you can see down at the bottom, there are places where I entered a check mark for classification and valuation. In my example here, I'm pretending that they reclassified me from, say, residential to commercial, and I want to dispute that. That's why I've checked the classification box. And if that's all I was disputing, I could only check that one box. But I also chose in this case to click valuation because when they reclassified you, chances are that your value went way up. I think it's good to go ahead and check both in that circumstance. I entered some very preliminary reasons where it says other information. I simply entered that it was improperly reclassified from residential to commercial and overvalued given the comparable sales and the condition of the property. And this screen was too long for me to include in one screenshot. So over here, kind of on the bottom right, I'm just putting that there because at the very bottom of this form, you do have to click next. So you'll do that. And that will bring you to this last, almost last form. This is where my video is going to stop, but I'll explain what's next if you choose to continue. And you would enter your name and the date, and you're essentially signing that under penalty of perjury, you're giving, accurate information, and that the information you include here can be requested by any member of the public under the Missouri Sunshine Law. So for that reason, you wouldn't necessarily want to give confidential information. You would click next. And then if you want to, you would have the opportunity to submit attachments. You can see that the next step in the process is attachments. And then, of course, you would get to your final submission. I didn't do that in this case because I'm actually not filing an appeal for this property, and I didn't want to create work for people. But I will get into in other videos what information you might want to include as attachments. Typically, that's things like if the condition of the property is poor, photographs of those things that need to be repaired, comparable sales that you might have obtained from a real estate agent in a PDF format, those kinds of things. And for commercial, if you really are a commercial property and you're filing an appeal, I'll create another video for that. But for those, I will just tell you that the kind of documentation you're going to need to submit are more elaborate. So I won't get into that. But for homes that really are homes, even if they're being used as short-term rentals, I would definitely, if the property has any major flaws, I would go ahead and maybe make the assessor aware of that at this time. I'm going to go ahead and stop the video. I hope this was helpful. And as always, reach out to me via email if you have questions or concerns. Thanks. Bye.